Hey, this is Rick with Mike and Rick Outdoors, and today I'm here with Jerry and his wife Candy and my wife sitting over there. They don't want to be on the camera for some reason today, but you know, that's okay. You got the best looking people right here. But today I'm out here and I want to talk with Jerry. We've just met about, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I want to talk to him about his truck camper because Mike's looking at a trailer. We were talking about truck campers, and we're going to be doing a lot more traveling up to Canada, around the mountain region and all over. And I was trying to talk Mike into a truck camper, but now because he takes an ATV with him all the time, he's now looking at a trailer, or a toy hauler. So I want to visit with you, and I want to look at what's about your truck camper, and then wrap up with why you chose it, and if you have different equipment, or you have ATVs or don't, why you might choose one or another. And if you're at a campground like this, you can have a certain vehicle or trailer or RV, but if you want to go real remote, then you may choose something else. So that's what I want to visit with you about today. But before I go any farther into that, please like, subscribe, share, and turn on notifications so you'll be alerted as soon as we put out new videos.
First off, I'm going to start with this truck. This is the 1-ton Dodge. You don't have to have that for this little bitty slide-in camper. I had it because I had a 5th wheel, decided to go ahead and keep it. There's no reason to downsize. But this model of camper right here will actually fit on anything. They had to do a little bit of altering to it, and I'll show you about it. First, right off the bat, electric jacks are a must. There's no reason to sit here and hand crank or have to put your DeWalt on there or anything like that. Electric jacks are a 100% must. And on the pop-ups, the electric pop-up, again, I would not want to do it a hand crank. I'm too old to do that. I'm going to spend the money and I'm going to get it right.
Hey Jerry, real quick question, and that is, so you have the back jack down, but not this one. So why do you use, in this case, you're not using this one? What's the reasoning for that?
Well, a lot of people don't even use them when they're out camping like this. I do. I put the back ones down for stability, and I just don't like the rocking motion, just like you would on a regular trailer. It's pretty much just for support. With the backs being down, it stables this thing real good. It doesn't move at all, so that's why I use them. What holds this camper on is these anchors. Now, I was real iffy about them in the beginning because they're on a tension spring, and it's my first truck camper. I was really apprehensive about taking this down the road at 70 miles an hour, but I've driven this thing across the country and it doesn't move at all. They've got some better ones out. These are all hand cranks. Every time I have to take it off, I have to loosen the jam nut, have to crank it off, have to take everything out. What these call fast guns, but they're about $500 for 4 of them. So I can hand crank a whole bunch for $500, that's for sure. What fast guns do is it makes it where you don't have to tighten this up by hand or loosen it, and they're already preset. It's almost like a come along, and you just tighten them down right there and it's already to your set. But moving on, just some of the features about this camper is, this is where all your electric jacks plug in. It has the battery disconnect right here, and this is what I really like about it. I get some alligator clips. I hook my solar panels up to them, recharges my battery when I'm out here dry camping. This is where I connect to the city water. This is where I fill my tank. Of course, we all know about the power hose. Gray water. I kind of rigged this up to just go into a 6-gallon bucket because Park Services don't like you just letting it go out on the ground, so
it is appropriate that you have a gray container.
A gray container for gray water, that's right. One thing that I didn't like about this is these little compartments right here are hollow.
And so why?
Well, I struggled to figure out why they were, but after reading about it and looking at it, I've got a dually. If you had a long bed, if you had a long straight bed, then that actually goes up inside of here. And since this is a 6'6" bed, if I had an 8-foot bed in a dually, this wouldn't fit on there.
Do they actually make something that would attach inside if they have the shorter bed?
Well, I'll show you on the other side. I had to actually build something.
Okay. So what's the propane? How big is that propane tank there?
It's a normal propane tank.
Okay. You can't put a 20-pounder or a 40-pounder in there.
No, not on one of these. Now, if you had one of the bigger campers, the one that drops down and big, yeah, they've got enough room for that, but we don't need anything. I've had this now for 6 months. This thing is still full, and we use this every weekend just about.
Yeah, so you've had it 6 months and not refilled it?
Not refilled it yet.
Wow.
Because we cook everything outside. We don't cook everything inside.
So
now,
is it only the stove that runs off that?
It's a stove and the heater.
Okay.
We have electric heater in there that we run off the generator that keeps it nice and warm. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. But being a camper in the back of the truck, you're still limited for space. So that's why we have to utilize everything. That's why I have my mosquito repellents in here. I just try to use every spot imaginable.
So this might be one of your criticisms is storage space.
Oh, well, that's going to be on every camper. I mean,
do you have the ability to put stuff up on top even though it's a pop-up?
You can, but then you'd have to attach a ladder to the outside. Then
yeah,
I'm not even going to do all that.
What about putting things in between your camper and the truck bed? Is that even a possibility?
We thought about it. We thought about being able to take our 5-gallon fuel cells and sticking them in here and sliding them in and finding some way to strap them in. We just haven't explored that 100% yet. I mean, but there is room in there.
Do you carry stuff in the cab of your truck also? Or
it stays full.
Really? Okay.
That's where our clothes go. That's where the dog stuff goes. That's where everything, our food and everything like that. Because we don't want to pop it up when we're coming out here. Put everything in it, pop it back down, drive all the way out here, pop it back up, reorganize everything. It's just easier to throw everything in the truck. And what we keep in the camper is our every time use camping gear.
So I have to ask this question while I'm thinking about it, because the older you get, things, for me at least, go in one ear and out the other. But do you, and we'll talk about this at the end, but do you ever find yourself wanting to have or wished you had something slightly bigger? Or is this just, even though you've got space issues, this is exactly what you wanted?
Well, I tell you, that's funny. Years ago, the wife and I, we started out with a small pull-behind pop-up. That's what we raised our kids in. It was wonderful, especially when you've got 3 kids that can do all your grunt work and put down all your jacks and everything like that. As soon as they moved off, I said, I want a big bumper pull. So I bought a 35-foot bumper pull. That was all good until my little half-ton truck just couldn't keep it on the road anymore. That was like pulling a billboard down the road. So then I upgraded to a 3/4 ton. Well, and that thing pulled it like it didn't even know it was behind it. The space in those little trailers, though, being as tall as I am, 6'3", I was always having to dodge around the light fixtures and dodge around the AC unit. And there was some personal things that I didn't like about these small little campers, is that when you sit down, your butt cheeks hit the walls. Didn't want that anymore. You had to jump on the bed to make it. Didn't want that anymore. So what we did is we went and bought a 40-foot fifth wheel with 5 slides. We just went way overboard. Well, then now that 3/4 ton truck couldn't haul it very well. So that's why, hence, we have the dually 1 ton. But then we found we couldn't get into a lot of campgrounds. A lot of the campsites, they're not just set up for it, and you have to stay at the very front, no trees. It's really not a pretty area. We've taken it out several times. It's just one of those things. It was just too hard. I had to follow truck lanes. I couldn't go down the scenic routes. It was hard to get fuel in. Had to stop at the truck fueling places, which is twice as much on diesel. So we just parked it. It's still down in Texas, and we bought this because we wanted to be mobile. And that's exactly what this thing enables us to do. Now we're mobile. We can go anywhere in the world. This truck is four-wheel drive. It can take me way back to where normal people just don't go, and that's what we wanted. We wanted a seclusion. We wanted to get away from everybody, and that's what this little truck camper offers us. We decided on the pop-up over the hard side just for the space on the inside. We looked at several different models, different brands, but the pop-up is so open in there, it just gives you that feeling that you're not closed in.
So I got one quick question before you move on. You're talking about being mobile or lack of mobility. Say you were going to go with a trailer still. What size in general or length in general on a trailer do you still think keeps you mobile? And then the follow-up question that is the mobility on a truck camper. What size of a truck camper keeps you from being mobile? Well, when I'm talking getting around in campsites that are maybe harder to get and pull into, or you go up on a remote camping spot out where it's more, it may not be a four-wheel drive road, but it's got, you got ruts and it's, a little bit tougher. What size do you have an opinion what size you'd want to stay in?
I would, on a trailer, I wouldn't go anything over 18 foot. Now, since have a bunch of kids having to stay with me, if it's just me and her, shoot, we don't need really anything over 12 foot. We just need a bed and a refrigerator, and that's about it. The truck campers, you can get too big for that too. You can get to where they're real top heavy, to where if you are doing some rough roads, it feels like you're gonna flip over, even though you may not. But you can also get in where they go way down in the bottom, and you can't put your extension on your hitch, and you can't put a trailer behind it. So this one here, we liked it because it was high. We can put our extension in. We can pull a little trailer behind us, with our ATVs or side-by-sides, and we can still do other things. We can put a boat behind it, jet ski. We can do whatever we want to do. That's why this was one of our best purchases we've ever done. I was real sketchy about these steps when I first got it because I weigh 220 pounds. And I didn't know how these little accordion steps were going to work on me. But I've carried a lot of stuff up these steps. It comes undone with these two little pins, folds up, and I just stick it right in there for whenever we're traveling. How's a place to put your backup camera? Because your tailgate's down, you don't have a backup camera anymore, and you can't see behind. This is just a huge block sitting behind you. So we haven't put the backup camera there just because they're $800, and I don't see any reason for them unless I'm in Walmart parking lot. There's not really anything. Oh, this awning. We chose to get the option to get this awning on here, and we've only ever used it one time. I wouldn't recommend it. That's $900 attachment. It comes out to about right here, offers absolutely nothing. It's better off just to get one of them pop-up tents and just haul that around. A whole lot cheaper than that.
Well, the only thing about the pop-up tent though, then you've got to pack it.
Oh yeah.
So if can you get different size awnings that would come out farther?
Sure, you can get one that comes out 10 foot. You can also get one that goes around right here that comes out this way, but I've always figured I was going to hit my head, so I just didn't even try that option.
All right, so we're going to go inside.
Yeah, let's go inside.
And the thing is, let me get your logo here just to give you a little heads up, thumbs up. But tell me about hitting your head when you walk in this. This is one of the critiques you might have.
We were down in Austin, Texas when we got fitted for this, and they had this on my truck. They said, come on in, check it out, and give us a walkthrough. I cracked my head right there so hard that it took me to my knees, and I lost everything about every religion I ever had. I called everybody in that whole place some bad names, and I even threatened to burn the whole place down. So that right there will hurt you bad.
But you still bought it.
But I still bought it because that was my fault, not theirs. Come on in here. I'll show you what we've kind of done different.
Talk about the height first, because that's important to a lot of people.
Well, again, I was skeptical about the pop-up because I was afraid of the height because of previous experiences with the other trailers. But walking in here for the very first time, even though my head hurt at that time, I was just instantly in love with how high this was. I can stand up on this little platform right here. I don't have to dodge around anything. It's exactly how high it is. I was also worried about the height right here. Am I going to feel like I'm sleeping in a coffin or not? But actually, I mean, this is 2 feet high. When you lay there, it's great. You got plenty of room. the wife is able to sit up without hardly even ducking her head. Now me, yeah, there's some little things about it that I really don't like. This little knob right here, right in the middle of the night when you got to get up to go pee, that little knob is your worst enemy in the world. And then right after you hit that and you start sliding off here, right here is what you hit. So once you get to know it, you can actually kind of avoid those little instances like that. Oh, this is a queen size bed. You can see the height right here. I mean, it's just awesome. I mean, you're not going to do jumping jacks in here, and you're not going to do somersaults or anything like that, but it's plenty of room. Feet don't hang off the bed. The only kicker is you got to make sure your truck's level, because sometimes you'll sleep this way, sometimes you'll sleep that way. So we bought extra blocks that we can put underneath the tires. But getting down is kind of a trick for me. For her, it's a little bit trickier because she has short legs. But that's it. Now she'll dangle right here and have to use braces and all that to get down, but for us, for me, it's just fine. Now, if you had a hard side, all this would be closed in. And you would hit your head on these cabinets right here. You've got cabinets over here. Yes, you got more space, but I wanted this because I get to choose where I put my cabinets. We use this one for our little pantry. And yes, when you bring this down, I do have to unhook this and I'll put it over here on this bench. But it zips up. Everything stays secure in there. This one we use for odds and ends like paper plates, silverware, stuff like that. And then this is my closet. Every time I get in here, I just unpack my backpack, throw all my stuff up there, boom, we're good. And then she uses these foot lockers. Each side has these foot lockers. Really not a big fan about the knobs, but I've learned to avoid them. But they're deep, they run all the way through, so she uses those as her closet.
What about those two?
We just have just odds and ends of food just stored in here. Just things that keep, just in case mice gets in here. I mean, the refrigerator is pretty good size for a truck camper. And it runs off propane or AC, has an automatic changer on it. What's neat about it is I've had propane refrigerators before, and it takes them 3 or 4 days to ever get cold. This one gets cold within a matter of about 6 hours on propane. AC, 2 hours. So works out real good. This cute little stove here, we've only used maybe twice because we do all the cooking outside. There's just not enough room here to prep, so the only time we would use that is just in case it's raining or anything and we're hungry and we want to fix some ramen noodles or something like that. The sink is small, well, of course, because this is a small camper. It's hard to do dishes in here. You can see that on one of my reviews when I first got the camper. We stayed a week up in Lake Texoma, and I kind of did the odds and ends on that, and I learned 5 things about it, and one of them is this ain't the place to do your dishes. That's why we always carry an extra jug of water outside in a dish pan. We do everything out there. Being that we're here dry camping right now, we're running off of our freshwater tank and off the pump. Great pressure, and that goes into that gray 6-gallon can outside.
How much storage do you have in your freshwater tank?
I've got 20 gallons fresh water and 5 gallons black water. And you're saying 5 gallons black water, I'll use that in 6 hours. No, not really. If we stay more than 3 days and I have an external black water tank that's on wheels, so I'll put that black water tank on one of those carriers that you can slide right into your truck hitch right there, and then I'll strap it down to that. Then I'll just run the hose from the black water here straight into that. But if you're conservative, this will last you 3 days, especially if you're a dude and you can walk outside in the dark. Woman, I understand, but that's the way it is. But I've done some alterations to this. These were screwed down. I didn't like that. I needed more space, so I just added this to where we can put our dish stuff in here and our cleaning stuff in here. And that really opened up a little bit of space for us. Also,
so there was no storage there before?
There was none.
Wow.
This had a double or a folding door that you had to stand right here. You folded it and it opened up to right here to give you a little bit of privacy. I took that off because it was too closed in. As big as I am, trying to get in here and try to move around, I was always hitting that door. It had a latch right here in the middle to keep the bifold in. I took it off. We've been married 33 years. there's no more secrets. So, but just for privacy's sake, we do have a little privacy curtain. Or if we know it's going to be a bad one, we'll ask our significant other to step outside for just a few minutes. Hence the Febreze air spray.
Yeah, she might have to step out for a half hour.
Well, as open as this is, I mean, all you got to do is turn a fan on. It sucks everything right back out. It comes with 2 different exhaust fans. This one right here is just a simple on and off. You can open up the sunlight, and then one above the bed. This one above the bed, you can actually, has 4 different settings. I like a little noise at night, so I turn it on 4. And then when it's halfway cool, I take these, I only unzip one corner, and it really pulls the air through right across me and keeps me for a real nice cool night.
I think this is a good time before we get back to the bathroom area here. I've been wondering about this. How does it work? You know, summer seems fine. I mean, you can get warm, you know, a little bit warm, but in the winter, you know, we were talking about this before, and you were saying there was no issues at all. I mean, this is some, you know, it's not.
It's canvas.
Yeah, it's canvas.
That's all
it is. But you said it wasn't a problem. You said you guys stayed nice and warm. Isn't that what you said when we were talking?
Yeah,
about?
when we picked this up in Austin, it was in end of December, and it was -9 degrees, and we camped in it that night because we didn't want to drive all the way back, and this is what we used. This little electric heater right here, I stuck it down here in the floor, kept this thing toasty warm. Matter of fact, I kicked the covers off of me, and we were hooked up to normal hookup, so we had power. And if we didn't, then I'll be running off that propane bottle with this thermostat, and here's the heater right here.
All right, so that's what you're saying. If it was really cold, and then maybe that one's gonna put out more heat.
That'll put out a lot more heat. That one will run you out of here within 5 minutes. I don't care how cold it is. But heat rises. You're going to be right here. You're going to be sweating.
Yeah, right.
And I've experienced that. So that's why I turn that thing off, keep this little heater right there, and then at nighttime when it's ready to go, I stick it right here, and it oscillates, and it blows the heat up through here. Man, we sleep nice and comfy. Now then, saying that, we do have an electric blanket in here. So and it's underneath. And when we're plugged in and it's cold, we do turn the electric blanket on.
All right, so we're gonna come back over here, finish up with your bathroom. Right. Now there's no shower here, right?
It's just no shower. We actually looked, the one model up has the shower in it. And I have a problem with the bathroom shower combos. That's my personal preference. I just don't like, every time I want to take a shower, I have to store my toilet paper or put my towels somewhere else. And the one that had the shower, it didn't have all these cabinets right here. This was all one shower unit. And again, you just had just the curtain that went straight around. The reason why we didn't do that, because we're not out for weeks and weeks at a time. If we're out more than 4 or 5 days, then we're going to stay at a place that has a shower. What we do right now is very simple. Body wipes. These things are bigger, just like the butt wipes that you always get, but these are a lot bigger. Strip down, wipe yourselves off with about 2 of them. Man, it's just like getting out of the shower. You don't have to worry about hot water. You don't running out. You don't have to worry about filling up your tanks. You don't have to worry about draining your fresh water. All that's done by those wipes. But that brings me to our, this is something that we added. This is where we keep all of our toiletries and stuff. And because all these shelves right here got full of towels and just miscellaneous. And so we added that to keep all her stuff in, my travel bag, and just little accessories here and there. And it works out real good. And yes, when this pops down, I have to take this off and hang it over the toilet. It works out real good.
So did you go over everything that's right behind you that you're leaning your hand?
Oh, this right here?
Yeah.
Well, when we are hooked up or the generator's running, we run the Keurig. And then this is an ice maker. Like I had the generator running this morning to recharge the Jackery and some other things. And I went ahead and added water to this, and we made enough ice for the rest of the weekend.
So it's electrical?
Mm-hmm. These are all 110.
Oh, your generator. Mm-hmm. Okay.
When I'm running my generator, I'll run this, and I'll run the ice maker, and I'll run the Keurig.
Okay.
Because I'm already burning fuel. I might as well go ahead and utilize it.
Do you make your neighbors mad when you run your generator?
Well, first thing I always do when I come to a campsite is I look around, I see who else has generators. And like when we got here yesterday afternoon, I went over to our neighbors and introduced myself, told them we're going to be good neighbors, and I saw that they had a Predator 3500 as well, and I complimented them on buying such a great generator and asked them when they're going to be running it, told them when I was going to be running it, so we all had an understanding. And as long as I think everybody communicates, there's never any problems. But this area right here is where this table right here goes. It's got we got it here, we store it here because we don't ever eat in here unless it's raining outside. So this storage underneath that holds our pipe. But when you put the table here, it really brings down the space. And
how far does that table come out to?
Oh, just right here.
You can still slide by.
You can slide by it, but I have to do it sideways. So I just don't like it there. It's just no reason to have it. It just collect more junk. So we just store it away, and if we ever need it, it's just a 30-second put it right up. So
one thing I can see about this already, you have so many windows that even on a hot day, we're up to 80, 85 today here. I think in Colorado Springs it might be 95. But it seems like it really lets the air through real well.
It does. It's especially when you're up there on the bed at night and the wind's blowing through, you get a crosswind. It's just amazing. Now, one of the downsides of that is privacy. So if I'm in here changing and someone's over there at a little bit higher elevation, they can see right in, especially at night. So we have to actually just drop our little privacy screens if we want to. And then, especially, when we start going to bed, and then it's just real easy just to roll back up and get that cross breeze again.
Well, is there anything else you want to add in here before we go back out and wrap this up?
Yeah, let me turn on one of these vents. Get some air through here just a little bit. Oh yeah, just in case, because I'm a Texas guy. I keep my bear spray right by the door because we are in bear country.
Have you ever used one?
No, never have. And the first time we brought it out, they said they had bear sightings real close. And this had a zip tie around it, and I brought it out, and the wife said, "We're gonna die. You don't even know how to use that." And I'm like, well, "No, I really don't." But anyway, it's there just in case. They say we ain't got to worry about bears; it's more the mountain lions, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But you see where I put my tackle box and everything stores away real nice. I'm gonna turn this little fan on real quick, get some airflow in here. That's up. Fan on.
So before we go out and wrap up on talking about different types of, why you might choose something versus another, what would you? I mean, not you say you like this, and it's not about doing something so much different, getting something different. But what would you recommend for either changes you can make yourself, or that the company? What's the name of the company?
Palomino. Well, it's made by Forest River.
Yeah, so if they would take some recommendations from you, what would you recommend that be done, or that other people that you could do it yourself, things you can, make modifications?
First off, have a little bit bigger sink where you can actually put a plate in there and wash it. Another thing is make this where it's storage underneath, because there's a fender well right there, and if they box that off, you could have two real nice storage units right there. This is a pretty cool camper, man. I mean, this is, I can tell you right now, out of all the campers I've ever bought, and I bought a bunch of them, this is probably my best purchase I've ever done.
So you've had hard shells campers?
Yeah, I've had the trailers, the fifth wheels. Yes, it's small. There's a lot of people, when they come over, we'll pull into a campsite and it'll always perk the interest of somebody, and they'll come want to look in it. But you're not getting out to sit in your camper. If that's the case, you would just stay at the house. This is just some place for us to sleep and to store our stuff in case it rains. We stay outside, we hike, we bike, we fish, we hunt. This right here gives us the mobility to do whatever we want to do.
Yeah, because it seems like, for me, I've got some Kodiak canvas tents, and they stay real warm in the winter. Well, if you have a heat source inside,
right.
But you have to set them up and take them down. And so this is a lot more convenience, but you can pull up. I know you got to raise the top, but basically you're set and ready to go. It's a lot more convenient, right?
It's not as convenient as a hard shell truck camper, because you do, as a matter of fact, I just did a video on that, on my setup process, and I got a phone call from my brother, said that he was tired after 5 minutes of watching my video. But we do bring a lot of stuff with us because we do a lot of different things, and we're not just a set up and sit kind of people. But you do have to walk around it, you do have to unlatch it, and then you got to push a button and watch it come up. And then you got to go back around and pull the little skirting down, that's just in case it does rain so nothing gets in. Make sure all your zippers are good. The takedown's a little bit more, say, strenuous, because as it's coming down, you don't want this to be pinched with the roof. So you got to bring it down to about 6-8 inches, go around, tuck everything in, and then bring it the rest way down and clamp it down. And that's pretty much it. Then you drive off. Why don't we head back outside and we'll wrap all this up. Watch your head. This is what I talked about earlier. You know, the other side was completely open. I boxed this in with wood, painted black. No one ever sees it. And that's where I put all my Blackwater stuff.
Are you going to do that to the other side?
Yes, and that's where I want to put all my electrical stuff.
So real quick, what campground are we at?
We're at South Meadows Campground. We're just about 20 miles west of Montua Springs. It's real nice. It's a very spacious campground.
All right, so we're back outside and the women are walking away. They, for some reason, just don't want to be in the video. I'm not sure what it is.
Oh, she's going to show her the camper now.
All right, so she's going to want one. I really want to talk about and ask you questions about why a certain RV. Because what you've got motorhomes, you've got diesels and gas, you've got fifth wheels, and they have all different names. There's M's and whatevers and G's, right? So you got the fifth wheel, you got trailers, the RV trailers, you've got the toy haulers, you've got truck campers, but then you got the pop-up truck campers. And am I missing anything else? But I mean, those are some of the biggest items there.
Pop-up trailers.
Pop-up trailers, forgot that. So kind of, you've already talked about this, and I want to know, because I think I want to go with a truck camper and pull a ride on top. What do you call that? The ATVs. It's like more like a motorcycle, right? What do you call it?
Four-wheelers, yeah.
Four-wheelers, okay. And instead, I'd rather have a side-by-side, but because they get bigger and I want to keep my trailer smaller, so I want to stay as mobile as possible. I mean, kind of, you keep in mind because I want to ask and like really drill into why should I, go with something like this, or a hard shell, or should I go with a toy hauler? But if you can kind of wrap a lot of that up into a bigger conversation for other people, so somebody doesn't have an ATV, and okay, do you want to be rural, remote camping? Do you want to be in an RV park or something like this? It's not an RV park, but you're still close to people. Can you go through your rationale, your thought process, and what you've done in your life?
Well,
we got 30 minutes, I think, here.
I've spent a lot of money figuring out what I want, and again, it goes all the way down to personal preference. That's 100% of what it is. And you don't know what you need until you waste the money and buy something you don't need. And hopefully some of this insight that I give will kind of give some ideas on maybe what you're looking for. We looked at the toy haulers. I don't like the toy haulers because you lose so much space on the inside. You have the smell of your oil in there. You have your dirt.
Even with the door, you still have smell?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it still permeates in there. It just stays in there, especially if you have your gas additives and things like that. Plus, the insurance on a toy hauler is so much more because you do have extra tanks that they have. And so the insurance companies will make that just almost outrageous. So we didn't ever go with a toy hauler because we wanted the space. We didn't want a garage where we're sleeping, and that's pretty much what it is. You pull right up into your kitchen, you might say.
So if you don't have a toy hauler, I've seen people do this, but I would never want to tow a trailer and another trailer. So it seems to me, at least in my case, I would, if I want an ATV, then I'm gonna have to go with a truck camper of some sort and a trailer for the ATV.
Yeah, you have all kinds of options there. We went with the actual slide-in, the bed camper, versus the one that sits on top of the rack that folds out and over that you see on all those dispersed camping sites. Because my knees are old, I am old, and I pee frequently. So I don't want to climb up and down those stairs.
So you don't drink a lot of water at night?
Well, I try not to, but it still happens. You know, after you get over 50, it's pretty frequent. But my personal preference was this truck camper. You know, we've had the fifth wheels that really put us in some binds. If we didn't really do our research on some of these campsites and stuff, and we'd get down into one, I couldn't back out. I couldn't make the turns. It was just too big.
So then with you, when you're, and I keep interrupting, I'm sorry, because I do want to hear your story of how you got to here. But when you are, say, you've got this and you've got a trailer, a smaller trailer with an ATV or on it, four-wheeler, and I would want to enclose it one to have more storage space inside. But at least you can unhook it, turn your truck around, then it'd be easier if you did get into a real tight spot.
Well, in a situation like that, you can also get you just a regular little Class C motorhome, but then you're pretty much stationary where you are. You have to, just like I have to do right here, I have to unhook everything, bring everything down if I need to go to town.
Yeah.
So that's why we try to bring everything with us so we don't have those unexpected issues come up. You know, what happens if one of us gets hurt or gets sick? Then that's another issue that we're going to have to deal with, you know, being that we don't have one vehicle here. And that's why we didn't go with a motorhome. I want to be able to, if I have to, I can take that truck camper off in probably about 10 minutes, and I can take my truck into town, I can take it to the hospital, I can take it wherever I need to go. But when we go on longer vacations, more than just a couple of days, we'll actually take the camper off. Like I said, it takes about 10 minutes. It's all electric. Just hit a button, comes right off, drop it down close to the ground, and then we got our truck to go sightseeing and doing whatever we want to go do.
Have you ever thought of pulling a ATV with this? Or
sure. No, we did when I first bought it down in Texas, and you have to get a hitch extension, and it depends on the weight. You know, those can run up to $1,200–1,300. So if you're pulling a big side-by-side like a Can-Am 1000 double-seater, you're going to want to get that big boy, that just to make sure, because you are adding just a tube, another 6 more foot, and you're having a lot more tongue weight, so you're going to be bouncing. So you want to get everything all safety chained and all that.
So how much is the trailer and the extension? Because you were given a price of like $1,500, $1,200 for it.
Yeah, that's just the extension.
But that's the extension.
And you can get them as cheap as $250, $300.
Then you bend them probably.
Well, it depends on your weight. If you're pulling a little four-wheeled or a four-wheeler trailer, yeah, I'd probably only go with about a $400 or $500 one.
So I do a lot of rural camping. Mike and I go out all the place. And sometimes we're on roads that are hard to get to places, and they're not a four-wheel drive road that only ATVs and Jeeps are on, but they're still a little more challenging. And I have seen fifth wheels and longer trailers up there, and this is really more hunting season.
I've seen this up in hunting areas in the BLM lands. People will get a 20-foot regular flatbed trailer, and they'll put an old truck camper on it, and then that way they can still put their four-wheelers on the backside of that.
I didn't think about that.
But you put that in the back, you know, at the very front of that trailer. You put it on pallets, and it sits up a little bit, and then you pull
you put the trailer, the camper to the back, and then would the ATV go in front?
No, you put the camper in the front.
Okay.
And then ATV comes in right behind that where your door is.
Well, but then I've seen people then put, the rails where they could drive up on the side.
Oh, well, yeah, it just depends on whatever trailer you buy.
But if you didn't want to like pull your ATV off to get in the door or get around it to get in the door, that might be an option.
Yeah, it depends on the tongue weight. It depends on how heavy that camper is. If you want it in the front or at the back, if you want it over the axles, however you want to do it.
But isn't that flatbed that long also going to then keep you from going up to narrow? Or
a 20-foot, I mean, you can pretty much go anywhere on a 20-foot.
Okay.
When you get over the 25-foot, that's whenever you got to really worry about that. Well, you only have to have one of them 5500s or those big, 2-ton, 3-ton trucks. If you go with one of those truck campers that has 3 or 4 slides on it, and that weighs just
Yeah, that's my biggest concern about that, is because when I see those pictures, and because they do, one of them I really like. And the host, but it's $100,000, and it's the weight and how big it is. it's got the slide out on the back on each side, and then you walk inside, you're like, oh man, I got all the comforts.
Got fireplace, got it, I got all that stuff.
But then it's like, okay, the cost, number one, and if I want to get up to some places where Mike and we're going next year, we're going up to Canada for a month. Here in the mountain region in the U.S., I mean, there are so many places where that host wouldn't go.
Look at your height. I mean, you can't get underneath any trees. That one right there, I mean, I'm barely over 10 foot, when it's all the way popped down, and that's to the top of the AC unit. Yeah. And I don't ever have to worry about that. I still watch trees when I'm going on the forest roads.
So I don't want to make fun of anybody, but if you want all the comforts of home and having all the luxury and the really nice wood floors and the cabinetry, and you want to walk in like you're walking into your condo at the end of the day, well, you're going to be stuck. I'm going to throw out a number, but you may be stuck at 10-20% of maybe all the campsites, and there's 80+% of the places that you could go with something like yours, and you wouldn't be able to get with that host.
Well, that's exactly what we did right before we bought this one. We bought that 40-foot fifth wheel, $120,000 fifth wheel, all the comforts of home. I mean, it was just beautiful. I've never had anything. Even my house wasn't that pretty. You pop it all open, it's a little over 700 square foot. It sits right now because it's just too hard to move around. I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot, but it was just the inconvenience of trying to find fuel. I'd have to disconnect it, go to town, get some fuel, especially if I was in a small town. I'd always have to Google Maps every route I was going, check all the overpasses, make sure I had my clearance, and make sure I only went through the truck routes. And I decided after we used it a few times, I pulled it all over Texas, pulled it in Oklahoma, and I said, I'm done with this. It's just too hard to do. It's too much of a pain. You're white knuckling the whole time. It's jerking and moving around. You got big winds coming. It's just this right here. That's another reason why we went with the pop-up, is because I'm not top heavy. I don't swivel any at all. We went through a sandstorm in Dalhart, and we were completely blind. We couldn't even see in front of us, and that truck never moved.
So that's another question, though, is when you're driving and you got all that wind hitting those much bigger truck campers, or even in the trailers. Yeah. I mean, all these trailers they're angled front, but that seems like it was going to cut through, have a lot less wind resistance when you're driving, and I mean, it's got to help your gas mileage at least a little.
Well, that's another reason. Reason number 500 is why we went with the pop-up. Is it's not sitting so high in the air and doing that drag, but it still knocks down my fuel mileage quite a bit. Normally I get 21, 22 miles a gallon in that truck, and then it drops it down to right around the 14, 15 mark.
Really? Is that a diesel?
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just nature of the beast.
Wow.
And when I pulled my fifth wheel, I was getting 9 to 7.
Really?
I mean, and that was pulling it at 60, 65 miles an hour.
I guess the obvious answer is absolutely. I haven't asked yet, but when you're going up these mountains here in Colorado, or like them elsewhere, you're pulling this versus something else, it's got to be a big. And then going down too, you're braking, and I feel like there's, even though some people are going slow uphill, I think sometimes they're going slower downhill, and then you're burning brakes up. Do you ever feel like that's an issue with this one?
Well, luckily the Dodge has one of those J brakes in it that I just hit the button, it slows itself down as it's going downhill. Also, I'll put it in tow mode when I'm going up these taller mountains, because that does add quite a bit of weight to it, especially when I've got my tanks full. And that just keeps the transmission from shifting so much.
Do you downshift at all, or does that J brake keep you?
That J brake does it for me. It downshifts itself, especially if I have tow mode and the J brake going. I mean, it just slows me down all the way. Right. When I let off the gas, it automatically starts slowing me down, and it will almost bring me to a stop on an 8% grade.
But
almost.
It's using your brakes.
It's using the motor, the combustion of the motor to slow me down.
Okay, for everybody who doesn't know this, I'm a newbie at truck camping and all that. So, and even, I got a truck, but I love my Tundra. But that thing it has to go for me going into a truck camper or even pulling a trailer.
Well, that one actually is rated for a half ton.
Yeah, but then it probably sitting like this going down the
Well,
road.
it may. I mean, all because they say they're rated for it
Yeah.
doesn't mean it can actually take care of it.
All right, so I interjected a lot and interrupted you.
No, it was good.
But you're talking about your history. Is there anything you want to add for not just for me, but other people who are really thinking about these different types of RVs that you may want to consider?
If there's any way to go rent one, if you can find a rental place and go rent one for the weekend, and that's one thing that I wished I'd have done 2 or 3 campers ago. Just go rent it for the weekend and go see if you're going to like it. See if your truck's going to actually be able to pull it. Now, you may not have the setup is the problem. You'll have to either get a 5th wheel hitch put in or get the bigger hitch in the back put in, or for your load distributor arms. You may have to get all that on, but I would say find a buddy, go rent one, and just see if you're going to like it. Try one out before you go and spend the money. That's the best thing, because once you purchase it, you can't take it back. If you do, you're going to lose your butt off of it and buy something else that you may want. Believe me, I know from experience for sure.
If you're thinking about your finance, you're trying to be fiscally responsible.
Okay.
What would you kind of say? Hey, if you got the money and you want to go, you can do this. If you don't have as much money, what's your advice there?
If it was just me going on the cheap route, I'd do what I talked about a little bit ago. I'd take my trailer and I would put an older 1970s something, truck camper in the bed of that, where I can pull my 4-wheeler in the back. But that's only good for certain areas. I mean, you can't go on some of these real windy forestry roads with a 20-foot trailer. You just can't do it. That truck, I've been to some forestry roads in her Jeep, and that truck won't even make it through some of them. And I would not even want to take my truck through some of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And it goes all the way back to, again, just it's a preference thing. What are you going to be doing mostly? Where are you going? And how are you going to get there? And do I want something sticking, 13.6 in the air, so heavy that I can't even make it up the mountain? Or do I want something more mobile? But you can right now go ask those people on that campsite right over there the same questions, and you're going to get completely different answers. It's all about preference, and it's all about their experience on where they've been. Campers are campers. They're going to build them the cheapest way they can, the lightest way they can. They're not made to live in. They are going to break. They do take maintenance, and a lot of maintenance. The trim will fall off. If you store it outside, not plugged in, then your refrigerator is going to mold, or the siding on the inside is going to start bubbling. Things like that are going to happen because they are cheaply made. As far as expense goes, I've seen truck campers like that go for $300,000.
Really? I thought a host at about 100 was a lot.
Well, that's a lot, but I mean, you can get some of them rugged, hard shell outdoors that's indestructible. And I just saw an ad on one this morning.
Yeah, basically a tank.
Yeah, that's what it is.
A lot to think about. All right, well, thanks for showing me your truck camper.
Oh, thanks for being interested. That was fun. I enjoyed talking about it. I love that camper. Matter of fact, it brings people every time I come to a campground. Somebody comes over and looks at it every time.
Maybe my wife liked it, so watch it. We'll go back. She was like, I want that big old host. Oh. All right, well, thanks for joining me here and Jerry on Mike and Rick Outdoors and on Me and Her After Kids. I want to have some information below, links to their site and some other videos. Please go check out his site. They do a lot of camping. I think they may get out more than I do. And
maybe
so,
every weekend.
But yeah, check him out. He's somewhat new, but he's got a lot of stories to tell and got a lot of great advice. As you can see right here, he knows so much more about this stuff, and he's owned a lot of things that you've owned. I should talk to you like you're right here, not that they're somewhere else.
Well, I wasted a lot of money on it. Let's put it that way.
So check out his channel, and I really appreciate you joining us here today on Mike and Rick Outdoors. Please like, subscribe, share, and turn on notifications so you'll be alerted as soon as we put out new videos. And we will see you back out here in Colorado or somewhere else around North America soon.
See you down the road.